Good morning and welcome back to Gaming with ADHD, where today, all right, I'm wondering whether I should say we're going to finish the deep dive on the Alternity role-playing game Game Master Guide, or if we're just gonna do chapter 16, and then I'll have to do a makeup and do chapter 17, probably tomorrow. I haven't decided. I'm gonna kind of play it by ear. Just because of the fact that yesterday I was exhausted and so went to bed after work. And then when I woke up, I just got super busy and was unable to do a stream. And then today, again, I was exhausted right after work. So I went and passed out. And here we are. So, all right. So with all of that out of the way, we are at least going to be covering chapter 16, the optional rules. And if we've still got time, we'll go ahead and we'll do the creatures and aliens at the of chapter 17 as well. We'll just roll that all in. So we'll play it by ear. But regardless, I do apologize for missing yesterday. Just kind of one of those things. So, let's see. Man, it's been a week. I apologize, everybody. I've not been as consistent as I want to, but anyways. All right, you know what? Let's go ahead and get started. Because I don't have a whole lot to jibber jabber about. I guess as far as upcoming, let's see, next week, I'm not going to be doing Gothic on Monday. I'm not going to be doing Batman on Tuesday. So all of that's going to return the week after. And then, yeah, because I'm going to be out of town. So there won't be any live streams next week, or there might be one on Monday. I don't know. Still kind of playing that by ear. But I will obviously make sure you subscribe to the channel. That way you'll get notified when new videos come out. All right. Where was I? Man, I am struggling to focus today. All right, chapter 16, optional rules. The Alternity game system includes several options that you can use to add diversity to a variety of game styles and genres. These are the Player's Handbook chapters on mutants, psionics, and cybernetics. At the end of this chapter, another game option, the FX system, is presented. It is your decision whether to use any of these options in your campaign. The mix of character types and powers in the Alternity game works fine with or without psionic, cybernetic, and mutant characters. If you choose to allow these optional rules to be used in play, the villains and supporting cast should have access to similar powers. If a group of heroes includes a mutant, every now and then the heroes should run into a mutant villain. When no one can counter the hero's special abilities, gameplay quickly gets out of balance. You know, that's okay. I realize some of these are kind of obvious. They're things that you should know about. But sometimes it's really good just to have it specified. That whole point about, if you have like that's the Superman problem. He's invincible. He can't be hurt. He can't, he has all of these superpowers. So if you look at most Superman stories, what ends up happening is they have to find a way to take Superman's powers away in order for them to actually do anything. And so players are going to think that, oh, I can do this or I have that. Those are, this is cool. But sometimes what they want to do is going to throw out the balance of the game. So I think that's fantastic GM advice. Just, make sure that occasionally your players' special abilities aren't so special. I mean, don't do it all the time. Obviously, that ruins the fun of it. But, it's a challenge. Make them, it forces them out of the box, makes them come up with new ways to do things instead of just punching it in the face all the time. All right, mutants. Chapter 14, Mutants, in the Player's Handbook, describes a fantastic approach to science fiction mutations. Although you could use the lower grades of mutations to represent genetically engineered heroes or heroes from worlds where the human race has been subtly changed. If you choose to play with this option, you should decide if the mutations were introduced accidentally or deliberately. You will also need to decide if the mutant hero is unique or a member of a group that shares the same characteristics. In the Player's Handbook, mutants represent a choice of species. Rather than choosing to play a member of an alien species, a player has the opportunity to roleplay a hero who's an altered human. The choice to play a mutant is not a choice of profession. There are mutant diplomats, combat specs, tech ops, and free agents, possibly even mutant mindwalkers. One last thing to remember. If you or one of your players has a great idea for a new mutation, power, or even a different mutant drawback, use it. Most of the time, it's best if you keep your new powers reasonable. Balance in the game is important, but it's your campaign. If you want true superheroes, introduce a few incredible mutant powers and reduce the number of drawbacks. Mutants in the campaign. As you consider integrating mutants into your universe, look at these 4 alternatives. The first one is simple. Mutant heroes don't exist. Indeed, this may represent the most realistic choice. Mutations in this universe exist, but are usually harmful and often fatal. No mutation conveniently develops into an extraordinary heroic power. The second option is to rule that mutant powers are incredibly rare. Only a select few have access to them. These characters may be denizens of a single world or produced by extremely expensive government and corporate experiments. Only those who meet very specific qualifications can be mutants. The few mutants who do exist are likely to be objects of scorn and scrutiny. Humanity, much like any animal species, doesn't enjoy competition with a superior. The third option posits that mutants are simply uncommon. Most people know that mutants exist, even if they don't have much personal experience with them. The social authorities have rules and means to accommodate mutants into the culture. Any player can create a mutant hero in this type of campaign as he or she desires. The last option presents the extreme point that everyone is a mutant, whether as the result of massive irradiation from nuclear fallout or the tinkering of mastermind aliens. Humanity has changed. It's up to you to determine whether everyone has the same mutations or if each individual has developed unique powers. All right. I like those descriptions, and I hadn't really thought about them before, but it's like they're nice, simple descriptions of, okay, what kind of a power level are you looking for? Do you want, do you want mutants flying all over the place? Do you want, just a mutant here or there? Do you want it to be something special that only shows up periodically? Those, absolutely things that you need to consider if you're going to use mutants. All right, incorporating mutants. The decision whether or not to incorporate mutants in your campaign is completely up to you. If you're not certain that you want mutants in your game, try a few role-playing sessions with one mutant hero. Use mutant villains and supporting cast sparingly. If, after a few adventures, the mutant rules are working for you, allow the presence of more mutants to creep into your campaign. Gee, almost like saying, here's an optional rule. Try it out. Use it if you like it. That's exactly what it's saying. All right, accidental versus deliberate. The question of accidental versus deliberate mutations affects the level of genetic engineering and superhumans you want to see in your game. Accidental mutations can't be predicted or controlled. The hero or his ancestors underwent a genetic change because of exposure to radiation or a mutagenic substance. An entire race of accidental mutants might be possible if a colony is founded on a planet or in an environment with an unusual and special properties. Depending on the nature of the mutation, members of this colony might be hated, feared, or pitied by the rest of the galaxy. Deliberate mutations might represent attempts by a secret organization to breed super soldiers or super agents. If the hero is no longer associated with the organization that funded the mutant metamorphosis, it may seek to capture its fugitive mutant. Such outlaws represent enormous investments at risk. Sometimes a group of people might be subjected to deliberate mutation for benign reasons. For instance, colonists who will be establishing a home on a high-gravity world might be augmented by super strong bones, muscles, and vascular systems to resist the gravity, while colonists bound for an ocean world might be provided with gills and fins to better survive in their new home. Yeah, again, this is all okay, this all seems like common sense information, but again, it's good to hear. Um, it also is going to help you set that tone for your story. If you're trying to say, yeah, okay, everybody is a mutant and has, we'll just use this example because it just came up, and everybody has gills or fins. Um, it's going to impact what kind of stories you tell, what kind of challenges you're going to throw at the players. If they have gills, you know, like the challenge might be putting them onto a desert world, but at the same time, that's taking that power, taking that agency away because they can breathe underwater and now it doesn't do any good. But, maybe, you put in obstacles or things that allow them to use those mutations. Again, it's just figuring out the right ways to bring that into the story. All right, individual versus community. Heroes who are unique mutants, either by accident of birth or by design, should be extremely unusual characters. They'll have capabilities that raise them head and shoulders above the general population. Allow your players to create mutant characters if you intend to play a superheroic campaign or to put the heroes in extreme situations in a normal heroic campaign. Mutant heroes should be permitted only if they are created with significant disadvantages. Mutants who are members of a groups of similar individuals should be treated much like a new character species. Like any non-human species, mutants should have both advantages and disadvantages. If heroes come from some particularly sturdy or dangerous stock, they may encounter villains with similar or even superior genetic enhancements. All right. Yeah, there we go. Mutants. All right, psionics. Many science fiction stories assume that a few special humans and alien species possess the ability to master mental powers. Today, we have only the most nebulous and imprecise understanding of what these powers may be, but in the future, people may be specially bred, engineered, trained, or cybernetically enhanced to control psychic energies. If they were real. Psionics in the campaign. 4 basic options exist for integrating mental powers into your campaign setting. All right, if they're going to repeat this like they did with, oh, this is going to be annoying. If they're going to repeat it, I'm probably going to skip a lot of it, but we'll see. All right. The first one, and obviously the simplest, is to decide they simply don't exist. Abilities such as ESP, clairvoyance, and telekinesis are hoaxes and trickery and have no place in the light of science. Second option is to rule that psionic powers are available only to a very limited or select group of characters. For example, there may be an extremely rare psi gene that activates under certain conditions or only among a select few. A hero without this psi gene could study the discipline for decades without becoming a mindwalker. Maybe exposure to a certain planet's soil or radiation brings out psionic talent. Or perhaps an expensive alien technology catalyzes mental energies. Rare and unusual, these mindwalkers might be ruthlessly sought out and exterminated as threats to society, or harnessed as invaluable espionage assets. The public may be unaware of or not believe in the existence of psionic powers. A hero with the mindwalker profession is possible, but should be the rarest of characters. The most horrifying villain imaginable is the wild or rogue psi talent who uses his powers against the unsuspecting and defenseless world around him. If you want to allow mindwalkers but keep them extremely rare individuals, you may use an ability score generation method that makes it difficult for players to predict or place scores. If a player is lucky enough to roll the prerequisites for the mindwalker profession, he can choose that profession for his hero. But otherwise, he'll have to choose another profession. An interesting variation of this scenario is to bar the profession to human heroes, but to allow characters of certain alien species, Thrall for instance, to choose mindwalker as a profession. Okay, that's interesting. If you've got, I had never considered something like that. If you have a player who's hell bent on doing something that you as a GM really don't want to have in your campaign, but especially like these things where it's like, oh, here these are in the rules, even though they're classed as optional. Everybody's like, oh, well, it's fine. I should be allowed to do it. Um, I like this. It's like, okay, you can run that if you roll the stats for it. Make them roll down the line. Um, because it's like, oh, well, here's the stats you have. Pick a different profession. It's kind of rude. I don't know if a player would be very happy with his game master with that, but I can see that as an option. All right. The third option is to decide that psionic talents are uncommon but not unheard of. The man on the street knows that that intelligence agencies and law enforcement groups employ psions and accepts this as a fact of life. A scion in this scenario may have to have special registrations, permits, or other legal limitations on his actions, but there is a societal infrastructure in place to handle people like her. A player can create a mindwalker as desired in this type of campaign since they're not that unusual. The final option is radical and will change the nature of your campaign. What if someday in the future or on an alternate Earth, everyone possesses psionic powers? In this scenario, no one selects the Mindwalker profession. Everyone, including the heroes, has free access to the Mindwalker broad and specialty skills in the player's handbook. Mindwalker skills in this case become open skills available to everyone. All right. Okay, the only thing I don't like about that writing is the fact that they literally just took everything from mutants and rolled it into psionics, and I have a feeling they're going to do the same thing for cybernetics. So when we get there, I'm probably going to be skipping over that. All right, incorporating mindwalkers. The decision whether or not to incorporate mindwalkers to your campaign is completely up to you. If you're not certain that you want psionic characters running amok in your game, try a test run with only one mindwalker here on the... Okay, you know what? All right, I'm skipping that. All right. Talents. Here we go. Dealing with talents is probably a bit easier than dealing with full-fledged mindwalkers in your campaign. Indeed, introducing a talent or two may be the best way to bring psionics into your campaign for the first time. It's up to you whether talents exist in your campaign. You can decide that only talents exist and that mindwalkers don't. This type of campaign may present a human species just beginning its exploration of mental powers and energies. For the sake of simplicity, you could also make a choice to disallow talent characters while allowing mindwalkers. Either you've got the juice or you don't. Okay, I like that. It's like, okay, I don't really want to deal with psionics, but here I can toss, I can let players have a little bit of a taste, and it's some salt for the game. There we go. That's what we're going to call it. All right, cybertech. The third major game option presented in the player's handbook features technologically enhanced characters. While powerful computers, robots, cyber-enhanced humans, and self-aware grid programs are a part of many high-tech game settings, you have the option of ignoring them, leaving them as background elements of your campaign, or allowing heroes to make full use of these special capabilities by creating enhanced heroes. Heroes who have been enhanced by the surgical implementation of inorganic systems and structures into their bodies are cybernetic heroes. These systems range from pure physical enhancements, such as dermal armor, reinforced skeletal structure, and concealed weaponry, to neural computer nets that interface directly with the character's mind. Characters may make improvements on their basic human characteristics in order to add speed, reflexes, senses, memory, or intelligence. Cybernetics in the campaign. Like other improved humans, cyborgs differ from the average man. They can do things that normal Homo sapiens can't. Fear and resentment are the likely result. There are 3 ways to view cybernetics in your campaign. Oh, they had to go and twist it up on me. The technology doesn't exist. The technology exists, but its use is morally questionable or requires an exorbitant amount of resources, or the technology exists and is widely available. Okay, at least they're writing it differently. It's still the same thing, but I mean, I like this one though, because this is, and as opposed to just like, it's not available, it's available very rarely. It's a little bit more common, but still rare. And then everybody has it. But at least I like this one. Its use is morally questionable or requires an exorbitant amount of resources. So it's not hard to get it, but it may be really expensive, or maybe society hates it. Because that's actually a very different thing. Mutation, psionics, aren't technically things that the or the player would control. Um, yeah. Whereas cybernetics is absolutely something under the player's control and something that they make the choice to do. Good morning, Stephen. How are you, sir? Um, I am back and I'm trying to finish the book because then I want to start a new one when I get back from Vegas. All right. In a campaign using the first option, the technology of active cyberware, mechanical components activated by the user's thought or will, may never be developed. It might be possible to implant a laser pistol in a human hand, but firing it as an act of will may never be possible. Uh, uh, if you don't want to deal with cybernetics in your campaign, you can decide that neural interface technology has yet to be invented, or it might have been invented once and abandoned as too dangerous. Uh, all right. Even if the technology is available, people may have many reasons why they're reluctant to use it. It costs $600 million, or even only $6 million. Okay, that's 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 a nice little Easter egg right there. To build bionic limbs, then very few people are going to be able to afford cybernetic enhancements. The second option is that society considers tinkering with the human body to be morally reprehensible. Cyborgs are frightening abominations of technology, and most people feel that they're just wrong. In this type of setting, a hero with cybernetic enhancements will be very rare. The game master might decide that obtaining cyberware implants requires an extraordinary effort or background, one with a terrible price tag attached. For instance, the hero might have to submit to implanted modules that allow a controlling organization to override free will and commandeer the hero for its own purposes. Cybernetic heroes may live completely outside human law. Um, Embodying a threat that human authorities are legally bound to hunt down and destroy. In the third option, heroes have access to cybernetic enhancements, and the technology is reasonably priced and accepted by the masses. Minor stylistic and fashion conscious cybertech improvements are common. Pilots might be wired for reflexes, infantrymen protected by damage resistant structures, and corporate executives implanted with databases for instant access. The Mechalus represents the ultimate in this spectrum. All members of the species contain technology that augments their biological systems. Okay, they they got me. I was expecting them to just take what they'd done with psionics and mutants and just redo it, and they twisted it. So, all right, good job, writers. Um, but yeah, I again, I like those concepts, especially about cybernetics just being quote unquote morally wrong. You want to do it? Go for it. You know, that's absolutely going to impact the game and how, other characters, NPCs and things, react to you. So, um all right, artificial intelligence. Can computers become self-aware? If you assume that artificial intelligence is possible, a spectrum of supporting characters and heroes becomes possible. There are three general cases you should consider before you decide where artificial intelligence fits into your campaign. It's impossible, it's possible at high cost, or it's possible without extraordinary effort. If artificial intelligence is impossible, you won't have to worry about sentient computers in your campaign. Any computer equipment the heroes use resembles the machines of the 20th century. The technology may be faster and more capable. Slow as they are in electronic terms, humans may limit the potential capability of future computers. Second possibility is that artificial intelligence is possible but impractical for all but a few specialized uses. Perhaps the only way to make a self aware computer is to use a large amount of living neural tissue suspended in a bulky and expensive life support system, or maybe artificial intelligences have to learn how to think cognitively like humans. Once the machine is built, it may take years to achieve sentience. Or artificial intelligences may be too advanced, unstable, or inhuman for comfort. They're dangerous or unreliable, subject to psychoses, mood swings, or megalomania. The upshot of this option is that artificial intelligences are built for special purposes and carefully controlled by human supervision. Heroes only interact with mechanical intelligence's rare or unusual adventures. Okay. All right, I'm going to read this last one and then I'm going to make my comments on this. Finally, if artificial intelligences are relatively common, everyone has access to computers or machines with decision-making capabilities. What does this mean for your campaign? It means that the heroes have equipment that may be smarter than they are. Imagine that the ship's computer is perfectly capable of minding the store while the heroes are out exploring the planet. Such a computer may monitor their progress, offer suggestions, and even fire up the engines and fly to the rescue if the heroes get into trouble. It might even be possible to allow one of the players to run the ship's computer as a member of the group of heroes. Common AIs provide a safety net for the heroes. Instead of learning the whole battery of highly technical skills, they can buy advanced computers and software for the tasks they need to accomplish. If there isn't a doctor in the party, a portable computer with medical diagnosis, software, and a hero who knows how to switch it on can serve as a suitable as a substitute for a trained medic. No, oh, you know what? Star Trek Voyager would have been out at the time because that came out in like 1997. No, 1998, I think. Yeah, that would have been right around the time that they were writing this. That's funny. All right, let me get through this. All right. In a society where artificial intelligences are common, one crucial issue might arise. How does the law recognize, protect, or regulate intelligent machines? Maybe AIs come with a kill switch to terminate them if they get out of control, or a pain pleasure switch to ensure complete obedience. What's the morality at stake here? If a hero shoots a desktop computer with an AI program, is he guilty of murder or destruction of property? Do AIs have the right to quit if they don't like their employers? The way in which AIs are regarded by society might have a significant influence on the technology and social structure of the campaign. It might also tell you a lot about the benevolence of the society. Okay, so, all right. First off, Steve, you are absolutely right. It's a lot of it is just, hey, here's some ideas, here's some things to think about. It really does make you stop and think about how do you want to run your campaign? How do you want to run your game? In your case, for things like the Project Zukov, what additional bits do you want? What are you trying to add and improve on the game? Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be stuff you are going to use, but it does make you think. Now, as far as the AI, it is really interesting that a lot of the questions that they're bringing up are questions that we are dealing with today. What kind of access does AI have? Like I'm looking at my YouTube channel and the stats and how it's pushing into the algorithm, and there's all sorts of information and people online like, oh, you should do this, you should do that. Um, but then I was watching something today and it's like, oh, well, I just threw it into AI and suddenly I'm getting ranked at the top of the search engines. And so it's like, okay, so what are the ethical implications there? Um, and so they're bringing up some really, really interesting questions that I think running a game like this could be really fun considering what's happening just day in and day out. All right. Robots and androids. If artificial intelligence is possible in compact form, a self-aware machine with locomotive and manipulative powers might be built. In a society in which AIs are rare, expensive, or regulated in some fashion, thinking robots will be extremely unusual. It would be much easier for an immobile AI to control remotely operated robot vehicles than it would be to mount the AI computer brain in a mobile chassis. It's worth noting that a robot is not necessarily a self-aware machine that acts like a human in a metal suit. Robots take many forms. The advanced manufacturing machines in use today are robots, as are many space probes, remote piloted vehicles, and similar devices. In the future, robot technology may embrace anything from automated terraforming or mining machines to nanotech surgical devices that repair the human body from the inside out. In most science fiction campaigns, single task robots like these will be as common as screwdrivers, People will think nothing of passing auto harvesters in the fields or dispatching mail and messages on programmed couriers. On the other hand, intelligent robots will be uncommon but not extraordinary in societies where AI is a commonplace tool. All the considerations mentioned in the preceding discussion still apply. Are robots citizens? And if not, what exactly is their status? Robots are likely to be far better than humans at many tasks, but completely unsuitable for others. Robot surgeons make sense, but robot doctors or psychologists don't, since they may not be able to truly appreciate the mental or spiritual sides of the human condition. Typically, robots will be reserved for use in jobs that humans would find difficult, boring, dangerous, or distasteful, and intelligent robots used only for the most challenging of these. Androids are a different matter. For our purposes, we'll assume that an android is defined as a robot of human appearance. Even if AI is so advanced that a complete personality can be packed into a man-sized frame, the engineering difficulties of creating something that moves and acts like a human will be enormous. While the human form is useful for humans, it's not the ideal shape for a variety of tasks such as heavy excavation, flying, or fighting. Intelligent robots designed for these specialty tasks are more likely to be clearly mechanical in nature, with a body shape and external coverings suitable for their work. In short, there has to be a good reason to build a mechanical being in the shape of a human. Okay, I was gonna finish the section, but that's a really good point. Like you see, like Tesla is making the Optimus robots. Okay, well, they look like humans. They act like humans. Or act, but I mean, they do things in the way that humans do. But is it because it's cool or is it because that's the most efficient way? Um, like having an automated mining machine or a tunneling machine or something like that is not like they're not going to make a whole bunch of humans that go in and dig a tunnel manually, um, just in place of the humans doing it. Um, so like, okay, so then I guess the thought process is why build a humanoid robot? So, and all right, I'm gonna, diverge a little bit here, and spin some of my own thought processes, but I think it'll apply it into this situation as well. So I read somewhere once that if you look at Elon Musk and look at quote unquote everything that he does, if you put it into the context of he wants to establish like human civilization off of Earth, on the moon, Mars, whatever. Um every single purchase, every single thing that he does is like if you put it into that context that it's somehow related to sending man off of Earth, um suddenly it seems to make more sense and come together. Like everybody, like he bought Twitter and everybody says, "Oh, well it's because of it's because well the impetus was because the Babylon Bee got suspended, which is a satire site." But if you think about it, well, if he gets access to Twitter, it's a massive flood of information that he can harvest for a um for large language models, for Grok, for an AI. Well, he can then use that AI to, power like you look at Tesla, the full self-driving mode where, you can, tell the car where you want to go and it drives you unassisted. Okay, well, oh, and actually let me back up to Twitter real quick. So yes, it can be used for AI, but also it's Twitter. What can you do with it? Well, you can send a message that's approximately 300 characters, uh, and that's it. So for all intents and purposes, it's very, very short messaging, which if you're on Mars and you have a delay of, I think it's, I think it's a, I think it's only a few minutes from Earth to Mars. Don't quote me on that. Well, a simple text data packet is going to be very easy to send all of the information as opposed to a high res image. So he now has a communication system going between Earth and Mars that it requires very, very low bandwidth. Great. Okay, so there's one. Then you go the AI go into the full self-driving. Um, so if he's going to make trucks and vehicles for when like the initial equipment is sent to Mars and starts prepping things for humans to get there, well, it's going to need, they're going to have to move dirt, move rocks, all this kind of stuff, and do so in a way that is automated and without humans, because you know I can't, with an 8-minute delay, I can't remotely control traffic. So traffic has to be able to handle itself. Um, and so you're now having, so full self-driving in a Tesla here on Earth is cool, but if you put it into the context of colonizing Mars, okay, vehicles might need to be automated for a time until humans show up. And then we get into the Optimus robots, and to kind of bring this all around full circle. So why would you make robots in the shape of humans? Well, if you're sending, you know, uh, an advanced party of robots and automated vehicles and things like that, well, you're still planning on sending humans there eventually. And so humans are going to interact in certain ways. They're going to go, like, they're going to expect a door to be a certain size. They're going to expect to be able to go through doors in certain ways. And so the robots that are doing all of this pre-production work with something similar to like full self-driving on a car, they have to be able to interact in a human environment. And so being in the shape of a human is still, you know, valuable. You'll probably still have some robots that are like, a mining robot. It's going to be a big, bulky, giant truck sized thing that can just go through and automatically, mine and, filter out the rock and the sand and all that kind of stuff. Anyways, so yeah, so all of this is, like that's actually a point. The point that I would make is, don't just come up with, you know, oh, I have a robot or I have an android or blah blah blah. Why does that android exist? Figure out the 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 deeper meaning, um and use that, because then it's going to fit into your world a lot better. um why are your robots human shaped? Again, all right, I've ranted way long enough. All right, squirrel. All right, let's keep going. All right, the same considerations for any artificial being apply to androids, but androids raise the specter of replacement. If a robot is clearly a mechanical being, everyone knows that there are laws and standards that apply just to artificials. But an android who can pass for human represents a threat to the entire species, especially if it is generally superior to humans. It is not unreasonable for future AI engineers to deliberately avoid the human form in order to reassure the public that their creations know their place in the cosmos. You know, Again, going back to Tesla, I think that is one of the things that does kind of freak people out. It's that uncanny valley. It's like, I know that's not a person, and why are we creating all of these artificial persons? You know, where do we fit? Are we going, you know, is Skynet going to activate? Are we going to be plugged into the Matrix? Anyways. On the other hand, robots might be deliberately built in android form to avoid having them look mechanical and inhuman. It's all a matter of how society perceives the artificial being. All that said, androids can make for very interesting characters in a game, either as villains or as heroes. Even if androids are reviled by the public and strictly prohibited by law, many governments and corporations won't be able to resist the temptation to build super agents who can be programmed for complete loyalty, utter ruthlessness, and photographic memory. Since androids represent some expenditure of resources, time, and money, no one will build one and then just set it free. They'll build the android for a specific purpose or for commercial gain. Um, all right. So here we get to the new optional rule, FX. So essentially, this is superpowers. Okay. All right. An optional rule you might want to consider for your campaign is FX, short for special effects. FX refers to any ability or power a character possesses that's beyond the norm. Magic, miracles, enchanted items, super science gizmos, and cosmic book or comic book superpowers are encompassed by the FX system. As such, most campaigns should use these rules sparingly, if at all. They're appropriate for some types of campaigns, but can quickly ruin the flavor of a more traditional science fiction setting. You can modify this system as you see fit for your campaign. In some campaigns, heroes have no more than one FX to call upon, and some characters have no access to FX at all. In other campaigns, every character has one or more FX abilities. It all depends on the type of stories you want to tell. Deciding on FX. You have to consider if the special abilities and powers you want in your campaign can better be handled by one of the other existing game mechanics. In some cases, you aren't really looking for an FX. You simply need to add a new skill to the skill list. In other cases, the FX you or your players have in mind might better fall under mutations or psionics, or it might simply require the invention of a new bit of cybertech. Some FX are decidedly special. They allow a character to alter the world around him in strange, unusual, and often powerful ways. When you've decided that FX is the way to go to handle a specific effect, the rules presented below will help you regulate that effect in a fair and consistent manner. FX skills. All FX fall under one of three broad skills. When creating an FX, the first step is to decide which of the broad skills best defines the effect in general terms. The three FX broad skills are arcane magic, faith, and superpower. Okay, so essentially this is like psionics, just with superpowers or magic. Okay. FX specialty skills, on the other hand, aren't completely mapped out for you like other specialty skills in the Alternity game. Or the Force. Good morning, Glenn. Good to see you, bud. FX specialty skills, on the other hand, aren't completely mapped out for you like other specialty skills in the Alternity game. Guidelines over the next few pages give you a good start, providing suggestions and some examples. For the most part, you and your players are on your own. You have to decide the extent of any FX and the cost associated with it. Purchasing FX skills later in this chapter tells you how to do this. Arcane magic FX. Wizardry and sorcery fit in most fantasy role-playing games, and you might want to make them available for use in this game as well. Arcane magic is a fantastic effect produced through the use of ritual, word, or will, or a combination of these three. Ooh, forgot. This is a creepy but fantastic piece of art. All right, components. Spells and incantations are the stuff of arcane magic, as are many occult-oriented FX, such as transforming into an animal or animal-human hybrid. Consider arcane magic to be the science of the unknown, ancient lore that employs enchantment the way modern scholars use the scientific method. Arcane magic often requires a repeated ceremony or gesture, the ritual, an incantation or spell, the word, and the spellcaster's own inner strength, concentration, and desire, will, to produce a magical effects. Sometimes it may require specific components that are used up during the ritual or a focus of some sort, such as an amulet, talisman, or wand. Once a character possesses this FX broad skill, the types of specialty skills that can be added are nearly limitless. Each specialty, in effect, each spell or spell like effects, must be purchased separately as detailed below. Using this system, an arcane magic user will never match the power and versatility of a traditional fantasy spellcaster. The FX allows arcane magic of a limited and more manageable type to be included in a campaign. Of course, since magic is only an object of myth and bedtime stories in most modern and futuristic societies, even the smallest bit of real magic can be stunningly powerful. All right, arcane magic specialties. Arcane magic manifests as a spell that can be cast to produce a specific effect. Each arcane magic specialty skill is in fact a single spell, such as Blast of Fire, Arcane Shield, and Wolf Form. Spells fall into these general categories: Augur, Conjure, Summon, and Transform. Augur spells are designed to uncover secrets, predict the future, or glean information through supernatural means. Examples include reading tea leaves, casting runestones, calling forth images in mirrors or crystals, using a divining rod, reading cards, using a lodestone, or even consulting supernatural beings. Conjure spells are magical effects that create something from nothing. Such a magical creation doesn't last long, and it can be as insubstantial as an illusion or as real as a burst of flame. These magical effects can be designed to deceive another's senses, causing others to see or hear things that aren't there. Or they can be more substantial, actually calling matter into being for a limited time. Examples include all kinds of illusions, spontaneous natural effects such as balls of fire, bolts of lightning, or a cloud of acid rain, small physical items of minor consequence such as tools, coins, or toys, small physical items of major consequence such as precious metals, jewels, or handheld weapons, and large physical items such as vehicles and shelters. Conjure spells are also used to create shields of magical energy, auras of magical protection, and wards of all types. Summon spells involve magical movement, opening dimensional doors or otherworldly portals to traverse the space between here and there, transporting by will and spell alone, summoning an otherworldly creature through the flux of time and space, and otherwise moving the spellcaster, people, and things by arcane means. Oh, this could be fun, especially if you wanted to, because in a couple episodes back, it was talking about different forms of faster than light travel. What if you wanted to create an alien race that doesn't have space travel, but they do have spellcasters that have managed to find other planets and be able to teleport and transport between those other planets. Uh, that could be a lot of fun. It's like, okay, then that could be an interesting story as well. You encounter an alien on one planet. It's very primitive people. They live in mud huts, etc. And then you get to another planet, and there are the people again. Oh, that could be a fun story. Ooh, all right. I like that idea. All right. Transform spells allow casters to change the nature of objects, people, or themselves. Examples of transform spells include changing one material into another, transforming a foe into a frog, turning oneself into an animal, altering oneself into an animal hybrid, and bestowing enchantments on mundane objects. All right. Faith FX. Miracles and divine intervention all fall under the heading of Faith FX. If you want primitive shamans, exotic clerics, and holy men of all beliefs to receive power based on their belief, then you might want to make this FX available in your Alternity game. Through prayer, divine contact, communal belief, and holy ritual, miracles can be accomplished. While Faith FX has its share of ceremony and ritual, it also has an additional element not found in arcane magic. Faith requires not only unyielding belief, but an agency outside the caster to serve as a source for the FX. This outside agency can be a god, spirit, divine being, conscious force, or even the collective faith of a community of believers that gives a holy man his spiritual power. Sometimes a holy item or relic is required, and other components may be needed for the ritual portion of the miraculous request. After a character possesses the FX broad skill, he must purchase one of these specialties: ordinary miracles, good miracles, or amazing miracles. This determines the quality of miracles that a higher power can direct through the character with faith. Using this system, an Alternity game priest or shaman will not be able to match the power and versatility of a traditional miracle worker in a fantasy setting. The FX system allows miracles of a limited nature to be a part of an Alternity game. Faith specialties. Faith manifests as miracles that produce specific effects. Each faith specialty skill description provides general guidelines under which a character can pray for specific aid effect. Unlike with arcane magic, there are no specific spells associated with spiritual magic. Instead, a miracle worker chooses a general level of power. The effect sought after can never be more powerful than the quality of Faith FX specialty skill chosen by the character. Ordinary miracles can be performed by any character with the Faith FX broad skill. They provide minor bonuses or penalties, -1 or +1 step, heal small amounts of stun, wound, or fatigue damage, provide very limited, very general information, or give some other minor benefit for a short duration. Good miracles provide medium bonuses or penalties, -2 or +2, heal medium amounts of stun, wound, or fatigue damage, heal no more than 1 point of mortal damage, provide specific information, or give some other medium benefit for a short duration. All right, and amazing miracles provide major bonuses or penalties, -3 or +3, heal large amounts, provide expert information, or give some other significant benefit. Okay, so all right, so this seems more general. I think this would be a lot harder to run as a game master because essentially you're giving your player a lot of agency here. I would like to do this, and then, no, you can't do that. No, that's outside of your abilities. No, you don't have that much. And you're going to run into a lot of conflict between the game master and the player because the player is going to think something's reasonable. The game master is going to think it's unreasonable. I mean, there's going to be plenty of times where, they're in agreement, but there's going to be a lot of arguing with the faith one. So, um, I would be very careful as to who I allow that kind of power. Because again, if you read these, this is all very, very generic. Um, yeah, which leaves a lot open to interpretation, and players will drive a truck through that. All right. Superpower FX. Fantastic prowess, super science gadgets, magical items, arcane relics, and abilities like those of comic book characters are handled by the Superpower FX. If you want superheroes, supervillains, or magic like technology in your campaign, then use the Superpower FX in your Alternity game. A Superpower FX can be the result of a fantastic mutation, a research project, arcane lore, mythology come true, alien technology, or even alien intervention. Mr. Jerk says there was a supplement book that added more granularity to the Faith FX, including powers typical for monotheism, deism, shamanism, and Taoism. Um, yeah, if that's the Beyond Science book, I do have that one. I have not read it yet, which is the whole point to these series of live streams. Because I was thinking about it the other day, and I struggle to just sit and read and not get distracted. But you know what? Just like with my painting, I have found that if I go live and am forced to read, I get a lot of reading done. So I've gotten through quite a few books this year. Yeah, slowly, but that's fine. I got things to do anyways. But yeah, if that's the one, then yeah, I do have that. But at least understanding the FX rules does help put some of that into perspective, and it'll definitely be an interesting look once I can get to it. All right, some superpower FX might require a ritual or relic to use, but most tend to be part of a character's natural makeup. Once a character is imbued with a superpower FX, it's hers to use, at least until the FX energy runs out. Once a character possesses this FX broad skill, the types of specialty skills that she can add are nearly limitless. Each specialty superpower FX must be purchased separately as described below. Superpower specialties. Superpower FX manifests as powers or abilities beyond the scope of nature or as magical or super technological items of great power. Each superpower specialty skill is a specific ability or item. Every superpower specialty is in one of these categories: enchanted relic, extreme ability, or over science gadget. Enchanted relic includes mystical, magical, and mythological items of power that fall into a character's possession. King Arthur's sword, Excalibur, Thor's hammer, the Holy Grail, an enchanted cloak of invisibility or flight. Hercules' belt of strength, Roland's horn, and the golden fleece are all examples of enchanted relics. All right, I'm going to pause there for a second and just again point out the difference in writing for older books. Like again, all of these references, King Arthur's sword, Thor's hammer, the Holy Grail, enchanted cloak of invisibility or flight, Hercules' belt of strength, Roland's horn, the golden fleece. All of this is coming out of classical literature, the Odyssey, things like that. I wonder how many people would really be familiar with it, if this was to show up in writing today. Interesting. All right. Extreme ability handles FX that are part of a character's natural makeup, though there doesn't have to be anything natural about the power's origin. Flying, firing bolts of energy, turning into fire or water, becoming invisible or intangible, sticking to walls, and manipulating gravity are all examples of extreme abilities. Each extreme ability is a separate specialty skill. Okay. Glenn says, kids still learn Greek mythology. Honestly, Glenn, I wonder if they do. Like, I honestly, like, if I went and I quizzed my kids who are now in their 20s, I honestly wonder how many of them would like King Arthur is kind of okay, that one's kind of a big one. I get that. But some of those other references, some of those other references, I do wonder. And Glenn, if your kids are learning it, I am 1,000% proud of you. Good job, sir. And that's sounded sarcastic, but it absolutely is not. All right. I've obviously stirred up a hornet's nest. They at least read Percy Jackson. No, and that's fine. It was something I was either reading or listening to a while back where they were talking about like some of the issues with like new Star Trek. People are coming in and they're writing the stories for new Star Trek because they're familiar with older Star Trek. But the thing is that older Star Trek was taking inspiration from the Odyssey, from La Morte d'Arthur, things like that. And those classical stories that have built the canon of literature. And so we're sort of getting into that copy of a copy of a copy of a copy kind of situation. So yeah, they've read Percy Jackson, and there are references to some of those older stories, but how far down is the copy? How much of the resolution has been lost? So anyways, it's just things I'm thinking about while I'm reading. All right. Overscience Gadget covers a variety of fantastic inventions, alien technologies, and far future gizmos that surpass even the best technology of the era. Flight ring, super force field belt, advanced suits of smart attack armor, shields crafted from indestructible meteorites, Web shooting wristbands, utility belts full of high tech gadgets, ray beam gauntlets, and alien weapons of extreme destruction are all examples of overscience gadgets. Also, look to Chapter 12, Alien Artifacts, for additional ideas for creating overscience gadgets. Actually, that I would say is like if you're wanting to make an overscience gadget, just use alien artifacts and rework the design. Like the background, the history of the actual item. Um, uh, Glenn says, I'm in my 40s and there's stuff I didn't learn, though, like everything I know about King Arthur came from movies. I also never read the Iliad or Odyssey. Um, I did see Clash of the Titans and Jason and the Argonauts. Okay, and I'm right there with you. I think I think the Gen X generation is kind of that mix. Like I read a lot of old school Egyptian or not Egyptian or Greek mythology. Um I my mom and this isn't the same uh but years ago bought me this big book of um essentially novelized Shakespeare. So it's the Shakespeare stories but in a story format instead of in a play format, so you're not having to read a script. um but yeah, I haven't read the Iliad, I haven't read the Odyssey. I have read part of Beowulf, but I kind of hated it because it was in a business class. Um, anyway, so uh, I'm not claiming, to be the moral authority. It's just ideas and concepts that I had thought about. But yeah, I definitely think Gen X kind of floats on that border of, how much did we delve into the classics and how much did we delve into some of the newer stuff. So, all right, purchasing FX skills. If FX are used in your campaign, then characters have the option to purchase an FX broad skill. A hero can never have more than one of the FX broad skills. After selecting an FX broad skill, the hero must purchase associated specialty skills separately. Purchasing a broad skill provides no benefit other than qualifying the character to buy specialty skills. Ooh, that's different. So literally, you're going to have to pay for the broad skill, which we were because that's one thing that came up in the actual play was me as a game master having to go back and like, oh yeah, no, these the broad skills can still be used even if you don't have the appropriate specialty skill. Some specialty skills can't be used untrained, but this is very different because they're just saying, okay, the only thing that the broad skill does is it gives you access to the specialty skill. So definitely something to keep in mind. The standard costs for the broad skills are shown on table G69. As always, the game master is free to modify the costs listed to fit the particulars of his or her campaign. FX specialty skills are purchased much like any other specialty skills, though the cost is based on the quality of a particular skill's effect. For Faith FX specialty skills, this is shown on table G70. The cost of each Faith FX specialty skill is fixed and isn't computed like the other FX specialty skills. For Arcane Magic and Superpower FX specialty skills, use table G71. Add up the varying effects you've built into an FX to get a base cost for the skill. FX specialty skills with a total base cost of 5 points or less are considered to be of ordinary quality. Total base cost of 6 to 10 points indicates good quality, and a total base cost of 11 to 15 points is amazing quality. No FX specialty skill can have a base cost of more than 15 points. The quality of a specialty skill determines its cost in FX energy to use. Improving the rank of an FX specialty skill is done the same as for other specialty skills. The skill's points cost is equal to the current rank added to the base skill cost. Designing FX specialties. Okay. Much of the material to follow is subjective. You must weigh design parameters and make decisions on FX that could fall one way or the other. It's usually better to lean toward the more expensive cost when an FX skill cost is in doubt. Step 1, describe the FX. Write a paragraph that describes the FX specialty. Does the FX specialty cause damage, protect from damage? Does it allow flight, time travel? What exactly do you want the spell, gadget, or superpower to be able to accomplish? The first step in designing the specialty skill is to consider which ability the FX is associated with. The ability score becomes the base score needed to successfully use the FX, but make sure you have a logical connection to the ability you've selected. In other words, don't arbitrarily connect an FX to a high ability score. For Faith FX, Will is always used as the relevant ability. Step 2, determine the quality. Every FX specialty skill is rated as ordinary, good, or amazing. You've determined what you want the specialty skill to accomplish. Now you have to consult table G70 or 71. Whoa, that's a guy. Add up the cost of each of its characteristics to get the total base cost. This number is the cost for a hero to purchase the specialty skill at rank 1. Remember, the total base cost also determines the specialty skill's quality as noted above. No specialty skill can have a total base cost of more than 15 skill points. Beware of designing a specialty skill that has a permanent effect or an especially long duration. With the exceptions of miracles and magics that actually change the nature of substances, FX of a permanent nature should be rare. Step 3, add FX trappings. Trappings make an FX come alive by providing visual cues and role-playing hooks that can be used in a gaming session. Some trappings are just for color, and that's okay. Others can reduce the cost required to purchase and improve a particular FX. Arcane magic trappings add flavor to spell casting. All arcane spells require some combination of ritual, word, and will to bring the effect into the natural world. Ritual includes all preparations necessary to cast a spell, including making gestures, reading spell books, or imagining arcane formulas in the mind. If a ritual is a simple action, it provides no reduction to the cost of a spell. The ritual is simply a part of the specialty skill's flavor. If the ritual uses a complex skill check requiring a number of successes based on the quality of the spell to cast, then the total base cost of the spell is reduced by 1, 2, or 3 points. Let's see. Word and will are tied together and must always be part of the arcane ceremony. Word is the actual vocalization of the magical phrase required to activate the FX, while will provides the energy necessary to alter the natural world in some way. Neither of these can be altered, so have no effect on the cost. In addition, an arcane magic FX specialty skill can have 2 other trappings, component and focus. Component indicates that a particular spell requires an ingredient to cast. A component should be tied to its spell in some way and not be a common object. For example, a spell that permits flight should require the feather of an uncommon hawk rather than one from an everyday pigeon. Oh, come on. The pigeons still fly. That's not fair. A character should keep track of the available stock of components, as each use of the spell diminishes this supply. Spells with components have a base cost reduction of 1 point. Like, okay, sorry, I'm gonna keep making the argument. Pigeon can fly. A chicken can't fly, so maybe the chicken feather doesn't count. And I know chickens can't fly. They're in my backyard. They don't get over the wall. Focus provides another limiting factor on how and when FX can be activated. Typical foci include staves, wands, crystals, amulets, talismans, spellbooks, cats, and other animal pets, or even another sentient creature. Without a focus, the spell can't be activated. A spell that features this trapping has a 1-point reduction to its cost. Faith trappings are represented by a relic that serves as a symbol of belief and a conduit of spiritual power. Without such a focus, the caster suffers a penalty based on the quality of the miracle being prayed for. For example, attempting a good miracle without trappings imposes a +2 penalty on the Faith FX specialty skill check. The ritual for a miracle is the prayer itself, which is simple in nature. There are no cost reductions for the Faith trappings. Superpower trappings vary wildly, but may reduce a skill's base cost in some cases. Common cost reducers include a power limitation, a trigger, or a component needed to make a super science gadget operate. Any of these trappings can provide a cost reduction of 1 point. Limitations are common items that hinder the onset of certain FX. Such an item can add penalties to an FX skill check or prohibit the use of the FX in its presence. Optionally, the item may weaken the character directly. For example, it may reduce an ability score for a period of time or cause fatigue or stun damage. Common limitations include specific minerals, like kryptonite, frequencies of light or sound, colors, chemical mixtures, water, or specific creatures or plants. Triggers are conditions that must be met for certain FX skills to be used. For example, a certain skill might only be usable at night, underground, or in the presence of the family pet. Components are precious minerals such as silver or gold, special serums and compounds that take time and resources to prepare, or specific energy sources of limited availability. All right. So simple answer is, if you're going to add in the superpowers, throw some limiters on there. Your players shouldn't be running around, like, casting it like a full auto machine gun with an unlimited belt. All right, that was mixing metaphors. All right, step 4, record information. Record the pertinent information regarding the FX skills, the heroes, villains, or aliens' FX energy total, and the game effects if the FX skill check succeeds. FX energy. How often you allow characters to demonstrate incredible FX powers depends on the tone of your campaign. Refer to table G72 FX energy. All right, so here's that's 73. So all right, so here's realistic hero or superheroic, how much FX energy do you have? All right, starting gives the amount of FX energy that a starting character with FX powers begins with. Later in their careers, characters can increase the amount of FX energy they possess. Max gives the most FX energy a character can ever have. Cost gives the skill points needed to purchase an extra point of energy to add to the character's permanent reservoir. For example, a character in a realistic campaign must spend 20 skill points to increase his or her FX energy total from 5 to 6. Wow. So like in a long-term game, that's fine, but that's a lot. That is a GM who is like, I do not want you to use these powers. Using FX. Most FX work just like other skills in the game. A player can decide that his hero is going to use an FX skill in place of any other action. An FX skill score is equal to the associated ability score plus the number of ranks the character possesses. An FX skill check has a base situation die of plus D0. Exactly, Glenn. Exactly. Have fun looking at this toy. You don't get to use it, but you can look at it. Each attempted use of an FX specialty skill consumes a number of FX energy points, depending on the quality of the FX specialty skill and whether or not the attempt succeeds. Refer to table G73, FX energy costs. Once a character's FX energy falls to 0, no more FX uses can be attempted until the energy is replenished. If a character's FX energy falls below 0, he suffers fatigue damage. For each FX energy point that isn't available to spend, the character suffers 1 point of fatigue damage. Of course, a character has to have at least 1 point of FX energy to even make an attempt to use an FX skill. Resisting FX. If an FX is directed at another character, the target may have defenses to use against it. Resistance modifier may apply penalties, as with any other skill use. It all depends on the nature of the FX. Some direct attack FX forms, arcane magic, or superpower skills can be resisted by either strength or dexterity resistance modifiers. FX forms that target other aspects of a character can be resisted by other means, as determined by the game master. In addition, armor can help against some FX, especially attacks that act as low impact, high impact, or energy weapons. Oh, okay, alright. I'm just this is weird because it's like there's only 3 types of damage: low impact, high impact, or energy, but the attack could be something else. So that's why they're I'm like, "Duh," but oh, okay. Sometimes Brian's dumb. Sorry. Alright. FX energy recovery. A hero's FX energy loss reflects how much inner strength he has to power his FX skills. If this strength runs out, FX can't be used until he recovers some of his FX energy. FX energy points for arcane magic or superpower skills are recovered at a rate of 1, 2, or 3 per hour based on the result of a will feat check or a resolve mental resolve skill check. Critical failure, lose another FX energy point. Uh, Failure, no recovery. Ordinary, 1, good, 2, amazing, 3. No recovery occurs during an hour in which a character tries to use FX. If a character spends a full 8 hours resting and not attempting to use FX, all FX energy points are recovered. For Faith, the recovery process is a bit different. The character must actively worship and pray for the recovery of FX energy, recharging a spiritual battery. Part of every day must be spent in prayer and meditation. At the end of the day, FX energy points are recovered at a rate of 1, 2, or 3 points based on the result of a will feat check or resolve mental resolve skill check. No recovery occurs during a day in which a character blah blah blah. All right, already done that. All right, then they get into some FX examples. So, fate casting, divine blessing, web spinneret. I don't mind that they do it, but I love how they take just so like web spinner. Really? That's kind of, you know, I wonder where they got inspired for that. Um, Cloak of Invisibility, Strength of the Behemoth, um, Song of the Eagle. Okay. Oh wow, this is all the examples they give you. So they literally are like, yeah, no, go make this up yourself. Fly. Anyways, all right. So yes, obviously, if you're gonna do this, you've got to get the book. You got to read it because there's a lot to it. All right. So we are just over an hour, and the creatures and aliens section is not that long. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to cover that today. And that's going to end the Game Master Guide deep dive. And all right, I'm overthinking this. All right, let's get into this. We'll chit chat at the end. All right. A science fiction universe contains a myriad of creatures and aliens that present physical and role playing challenges for your heroes. Exploring and adventuring are dangerous business. Dashing espionage agents get thrown into pits full of alligators. Treasure seekers attract the attention of sharks, great cats, and angry natives as they go about their work. Corporate agents often run afoul of security guards and attack dogs. This chapter describes a few of the types of creatures that might pose a threat to heroes over the course of a campaign. Real quick, Glenn. Right now, the theory is probably going to be Fragged Kingdom. I keep meaning to reach out to the creator and just he's a smaller creator. I'd rather he give me an okay as opposed to like why am I worried about the small creator as opposed to the um as opposed to the giant corporate ones. I don't know, whatever. But no, I really like him anyways. That's the one I'm thinking about doing next, but we'll see. You've been showing up, Glenn, so I kind of want to do a Shadowrun one. Actually, no, I'm not going to do Shadowrun because I do want to do a Tuesday night deep dive of the Shadowrun core rulebook, and then we'll do Tuesday the morning deep dives for some of the supplement books. That's what we're going to do there. Okay, sorry. I have gotten all sorts of distracted. Actually, real quick, Glenn, you said make sure that it's the newer one. Do you mean the new Fragged Kingdom that just released that I have the PDFs for? Just saying. All right. Animal and alien statistics. The animals and non-humanoid aliens described in this chapter have the same kinds of uh, game statistics as heroes do. Figures such as ability scores, resistance modifiers, and skill scores. However, they don't always play by the rules. In terms of statistics that are derived from other values. All right. For instance, we've given the mule a strength score of 14 and a dexterity of 10. It does damage by kicking, a form of attack that is related to both strength and dexterity, but its attack succeeds only on a result of 8 or lower. Don't be surprised when you see apparent inaccuracies such as these in the descriptions that follow. Some numbers are purposely modified to yield a clearer picture of what a certain type of creature is like. Ability scores. In the statistical summaries that follow, each animal and alien is given a single value for each ability score. These numbers describe a typical creature of the type. In addition, a number range is given in parentheses alongside each typical score. This range, represented by a die roll added to a constant, allows you to create individual creatures with ability scores that may be higher or lower than their species average. For example, the typical great ape has a strength score of 16. You could, however, roll d6 and add the result to 12 to create an individualized great ape. This particular ape would have a strength score between 13 and 18. In general, a creature's ability scores can be used as a basis for comparing the creature to a human. For instance, a typical great ape is stronger than the strongest normal human, whose strength can't be higher than 14. But the comparison doesn't always hold true when you consider how a creature is capable of using its abilities. Just because a horse has a dexterity of 10 doesn't mean it's more agile than an average human who has a dexterity of 9. Always take into account the nature of a creature when determining what its ability scores enable it to accomplish. Yeah, like, I mean, the mule is not going to type out, anything, even with a 10 dexterity. Intelligence and personality are treated differently. For these abilities, the number range in parentheses is preceded by the word animal. This value is an indicator of the creature's level of ability in relation to other animals. For instance, dogs are smart animals. They can solve mazes, recognize when a human is angry, and use effective pack tactics when attacking a prey in the wild. But it's ludicrous to assign a typical dog a higher intelligence score than a slow-witted human. Thus, the entry for a dog's intelligence is int 3, animal 11, or d4 plus 9. This means that no dog is as intelligent as a human, but the typical dog has an effective intelligence score of 11 when attempting to do something intelligence-related that an animal is capable of. Negotiating a maze, understand a simple command, use a sound or gesture to communicate some information. If you want, you can roll d4 and add 9 to the result to determine this. Okay, blah. Personality works much the same way for non-sentient animals. Sociable animals have a high personality score to reflect the fact that they work well with each other. But on the human scale, these animals' personality scores don't exceed 2 or 3. Additionally, animals are extremely limited in their use of encounter skills. While it's conceivable that a dog might intimidate someone with a growl or convince a hero to follow it to its trapped master with a successful intelligence or personality feat check, it makes a lot more sense for you to dispense with game mechanics in such situations. Let the players decide if their heroes will go where the dog wants them to go. Okay, that's an interesting point. I like the idea of like the growling. Like maybe a player needs to defend against an intimidate check. But yeah, if it's trying to lead you to the well, yeah, I mean, your personality can absolutely override the dog. Anyways, so that's just some interesting ideas. And I forgot to bring this up. Mr. Jerk says, I had the pleasure of meeting Richard Baker at a con recently and had my player's handbook and game master's guide signed. That's fantastic. I love getting signed books. Mostly I like getting books signed because let's be honest, it's role-playing books. They're not going to be worth that much money. But it's one of those things where Like, it's still a creative endeavor. Sure, you know what? They're not super wealthy from this, but throw them a bone. Make them feel happy that you appreciate what they did. Let them sign their work if they're willing to do it. You know, that is just me. All right, attacks and defenses. An animal's or alien's preferred formats of attack and innate defenses appear in this section. Use a plus D0 base situation die on a check to see if an attack succeeds. Predators naturally have higher attack scores and damage ratings than herbivores and non aggressive animals. Adjustments for strength are already included in the damage figures. The attack scores listed pertain to a typical creature of the species. If you create a creature whose strength or dexterity is higher or lower, adjust attack scores and damage ratings accordingly. All right. Let's see. All right. I have a feeling I'm going to be skimming a lot of this. So, all right, skills. Most animals and alien creatures possess a short list of broad skills that work much like a hero's skills. These represent the innate abilities that an animal or alien creature possesses. Unlike humans or intelligent aliens, animals can't learn new skills or improve their scores in existing skills. A number in brackets represents the creature score in the broad skill or specialty skill that was just mentioned. For instance, the skill list for the Great Ape begins with Athletic 16, Climb 18. This means that the creature has a score of 16 for skill checks related to the athletics broad skill and a score of 18 for skill checks that involve climbing. For a particular ape with a strength score other than 16, these scores would be adjusted up or down as necessary. Animals in combat. Animals don't attack just because a human crosses their path. Rather, these creatures attack because they're frightened, angered, startled, or in rare cases, hungry. Unless an animal is actively hunting for a meal, it engages in some kind of display designed to warn the hero off, such as growling, bluffing a charge, beating its chest, and so on. Rattling its tail if you're in Arizona and you see a rattlesnake. If an animal does stalk a hero, it attempts to use stealth in order to surprise the hero. This is a natural tactic of predators everywhere. The closer a predator gets before its prey notices, the better its chances of killing the unsuspecting creature. When an animal attacks a human, it naturally tries to close with the victim. A large animal's first attack, for example, is often an attempt to knock its human target flat, so that it can easily bite and claw its prey. Refer to the overpowering section on page 43 in Chapter 3, Game Masters in Action for more detail. An animal with several attack options can often try one of each as a single action. Few animals fight to the death. Once an animal suffers substantial wound damage, or even if it fails its initial attack, it's likely to break off the fight and move away. Of course, there are always exceptions. Creatures such as crocodiles and sharks sometimes lack the ability to realize they've been mortally wounded, and bad-tempered predators such as grizzly bears might lapse into a state of rage as part of a show of resistance. All right, Animal Compendium. The material that follows is by no means complete listing of every dangerous creature, but it contains enough information for you to get started and serves as a guide to designing creatures specific to your setting. For example, a cougar is basically a great cat that's smaller than a jaguar or a leopard. So you can use the description for cat great and reduce the animal's strength and constitution scores a bit. Similarly, you can use the stats for shark to create a smaller carnivorous fish such as a barracuda. Scale back strength and constitution somewhat, add a few points of dexterity, and change the resistance modifier versus ranged attacks to +2 or +3 to reflect the smaller creature's improved dodging ability. Yes, all of this. All right, so we've got great apes, baboons, bears, buffaloes, crocodiles, uh, great cats, attack dogs. They have regular dogs? No, they don't. Mules, elephants, scorpions, horses, sharks, constrictor snakes. Uh, Grape apes are great apes, but with less aggression, Glenn. Just so you know. They're more likely to give you snacks than beat you up. Humpback whale, okay. Venomous snake. All right, so I realize I'm not reading all of these, but that's a good list of stuff. Humpback whale. You're like, why would you put in a humpback whale? But like right here, boom, here's all the stats for it. And if you want to put the players on an ocean world, you're gonna need giant sea creature things. You know, you can give it alien abilities, you can give it other stuff, but again, here's your baseline. So I really like that they did that. It's a lot of just here's a starting place to work with. Okay, I see what they did. Okay, this is fantastic. This is absolutely needed. One of my complaints about the player's handbook was the fact that they only had 5 different alien races. Um, but this is all right, this is going to be good. Okay. Alien Compendium. This section describes a number of generic alien creature types to help set the stage for a science fiction game. You can use these entries or disregard them as you wish. While it's absurd to assume that every alien world has creatures corresponding to wolves, bears, or tigers, it's not too far-fetched to assume that a particular world has one or two creatures that fill similar ecological niches. Hey, like I said, these alien entries are deliberately vague. You should describe the details about a specific creature of any type, such as appearance, hunting methods, habitat, and voraciousness. Take these basic statistics and exercise your imagination to populate their worlds with all kinds of dangerous critters. Okay. Oh, I completely misunderstood. I thought these were like alien races that they were proposing. No, these are just alien creatures. Oh my gosh. So this is taking my point about the whales and just ratcheting up to 11 because it's amphibian. What's an amphibian? It's a frog. Or arthropod. It's uh, uh okay, dragonfly. You um yeah, in other words, add moon to the beginning of each of these creatures. Yeah, exactly. That's a cheesy way to put it, but yes. Um, but okay, so these are just templates to work with. This is this is fantastic material. This is so much good stuff. Colenterate colenterate are represented by the jellyfish. Okay, not sure why we need space jellyfish, but here we are. Equine, echinoderm, which I think are starfish, cats, mantis, nematodes, mollusks. So a lot of creatures that I wouldn't expect. But again, this is like okay, the animals that they did are just like, here's some specific examples. And it's like, here are very generic examples. Plus or minus it as needed. And that's it. All right. I realize I didn't read all of this, but again, this is just like the description at the beginning of the animals chapter mentioned it. Okay. So this we're just going to touch on this. I was not planning on reading the whole thing because it's woefully out of date. But although the Alternity game is its own completely separate role-playing system, interested players can convert their favorite characters into Alternity game heroes using the following AD&D conversion rules. These newly converted heroes can then continue their amazing adventures in the unexplored reaches of science fiction. These rules represent a quick, easy way to port fantasy role-playing characters into a science fiction setting. You can, of course, alter the conversion rules as they appear here to reflect the realities of your own setting. However, such changes may alter game balance. Think carefully before making this decision. All right, I think this is absolutely hilarious. Here is how you can take AD&D second edition and stick it into Alternity. So, converting over your ability scores, the special abilities of the different races, elves secret door detection, so they get a -2 bonus on their investigate search checks. If the elf doesn't have the investigate skill, he gains this step bonus to his untrained skill rolls. That's huge. That's really huge. Yeah, space door detection. Anyways, but I think this could be fun. Like I never played AD&D second edition, so I'm very very limited here. But uh the fact that they include all of this and give you ways to adjust it. Um converting over levels because, this isn't a level-based game, it's a skill-based game. Magic and special powers, I mean, we already talked about FX. Um, let's see. Fantasy heroes in a modern game. Traditional class roles of AD&D characters are likely to change as they adapt to the Alternity system. For example, the hit points and fighting abilities of the fighter and the mage won't be that much different. But clerics are no longer the first aid kits of the party, especially if they lose their magical powers. A good role player will pick up on this shift and portray his character accordingly. How does a priest of Odin reconcile his beliefs with the fact that he no longer receives spells? Can a wizard turn his inquisitive mind to the study of science? Encourage your players to think about how their characters perceive this change in the universe around them. Okay, this is fun. Like this gives some interesting role play ideas. I realize I'm just kind of skimming over this instead of reading the whole thing. But I'll be honest, I have zero attachment to AD&D second edition, so I'm not entirely sure how it applies, but regardless, I mean I get it to a degree. Um, but I don't think we need to read everything. But again, the fact that they included it, because it did come out right at the very end of AD&D second edition. I think it's really fun that they included those rules. So, all right, so that's it. That's Alternity. We've done the player's handbook, we've done the game master's guide. Um, this has been this has been abs this has been a lot of fun. Um, it you know, I Hey, Jen Moulton. TSR Alternity is great. I'm gonna absolutely agree with you on this. Um, it it's really, really fun to have gone through all of this. Number one, the fact that I've, for all intents and purposes, completely read now 2 role-playing books this year, um, just by myself. Um, I like this format. Kim might be a little annoyed with it because, I'm doing this instead of sleeping, but whatever. Um, but it inspired me. Like I haven't tried running a role-playing game in I don't know how many years, and I've never thought that I was very good at it. But in Alternity absolutely inspired me to give it a go. And we played, we had fun. We're gonna do session 2. I don't know if I'm gonna do a long running campaign because I have walls and walls of books of things that I'd like to play and try. So I might just be doing a whole bunch of one shots and trying different games. But I absolutely love this. This was great. This was a lot of fun. Um, so yeah, if you're watching this, if you've watched it all the way through or you've caught up, let me know down in the comments. What did you think of Alternity? Obviously, we've gotten some fans to show up and hang out with us. Um, it's fantastic, but yeah, Glenn, I'll hit you up. Ping me real quick. Because I forget your username because I'm a bit of a turd. Um, and I have a feeling it's buried a lot. Okay. Yeah, and yeah, Glenn, it's Dark Matter is on my list to pick up. I've been told, or I've gotten requests to do the sample adventure from Dark Matter. I I think I think my wife would enjoy that one. She was a big fan of X-Files back in yon olden days. So I'd love to take a look at that one. I think she'd have some fun with it. But yeah, it'd oh wait. Oh, there he is. Haha, I found you, Glenn. Um Anyways, so regardless, this has been a great time. I appreciate everybody who's hung out with me. So we're gonna do a little bit of housekeeping before I end this. Number one, uh I might do a stream tomorrow. I might do a stream Monday, but otherwise I'm not streaming again until the 16th or the 17th. Next week is Dice Tower West, and the wife and I are going to go. So we're going to spend a week playing board games. But that also means we're not doing Batman. Theoretically, the next morning game that I'm going to do the solo deep dive on is probably going to be Fragged Kingdom. I need to check with the I want to check with the creator if he'd be okay with it, or if he'd prefer I do Fragged Empire. I want to do a Fragged. And then let's see. Oh, Jin says he was lurking several times. I did a good job. Thank you very much, Jin. I absolutely appreciate that. I really do. I'm relatively new to doing this series. I'm relatively new to being a game master anyways. So I want to get better. So absolutely appreciate hearing that. But yeah, anyways, so that's what we've got going on. As always, hit the like button if you've enjoyed this. Subscribe if you'd like to see more of these videos, more of these games. Of course, drop comments down below. Let me know things that you're interested in, or maybe that I should take a look at. I can't promise that I will get to them, but absolutely, I mean, obviously, there's only so much time in the world, and I'm not going to get to it all, but we'll see what we can do. So, everybody, I'm going to go. I've got some errands to run, but regardless, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I absolutely appreciate your time, and I look forward to hanging out with you in the next episode. We'll talk to you later. Bye.